Great stuff. Byron, thank you very much for joining me today for real lived experience and wisdom. It's really great to have you on here. We've kind of known each other for a little while. So, would you like to just tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from and what you do?
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Good to finally be here.
Hmm.
So yeah, my name's Byron Munford. I've been a health and performance coach for the past 17 years now. I've worked as a personal trainer in gyms, worked for studios, and then started my own company called Lifestyle Revolution. And I'm really passionate about empowering people to take their health control of that into their own hands rather than relying on medical care and other resources. They can use their own knowledge of their body, of what they take in every day, nutrition, their movement quality, and how that impacts their whole day, essentially.
Excellent. And just before we kind of delve into the sort of the nuts and bolts of what you do and how you do it, what's your backstory? This that journey from like the young Byron and what formed
Yeah.
him to where you are now.
Okay. So, young Byron, I would say, well, I was very much an introvert as a kid, like my own time, and wasn't really into team sports, didn't have that kind of vibe. I was much more about, I don't know, like my own, keeping myself to myself. And I enjoyed learning, but I never really felt like I had much going for me at school in the sense of I wasn't good at sports. I wasn't particularly academic or didn't do very well at school in terms of grades and stuff. But it was only when I started to find exercise that I found my real passion in life and just, took off from there. I then did qualifications at college in personal
Mhm.
training, in nutrition and exercise instructing, and then just went on courses and seminars from there and just went on a real journey to learn more. I just really enjoyed pushing myself and then figuring out what the next level of health was and how far I could take it for myself because as I mentioned, didn't have a particularly great start in life in how I was as a kid. I was really overweight actually when I was quite young. Um, did martial arts for a while as
Mhm.
well. That really helped set me up in life, I would say, in terms of discipline, resilience, focus, respect as well. I think that's one of the biggest things that you learn in martial arts is respect for others.
Mm.
And that's helped me massively in life. And then as I progressed into education, I just really wanted to share that passion with other people and then started personal training, started coaching, and just building out from there and working with people that needed help.
Great stuff. I mean, actually, a lot of what you say there in terms of your backstory, I can relate to that as well in certain aspects. And I know other people when it comes to martial arts have really found themselves in terms of that's helped them. Whether it's through like bullying and managing that aspect of what happened in their history. So, are there sort of people or key events or influences that shaped who you are? So, people, books, films, music.
Where did we start?
Yeah.
So much of that. I mean, when I was really young, I'd say the biggest influence in my life was my karate teacher. I started when I was 7, and he was actually my swimming instructor.
Oh,
This is
wow.
the kind of guy, right? He had like 20 jobs. Yeah. He was a swimming instructor, karate instructor, taught boxercise, taught aerobics. He was a handyman. He fixed bikes. He was a cyclist on the weekend. He did aircon units. He had loads of businesses. He just did everything, right? And he was like the kindest man, but you would not mess with him.
Hmm.
You would not mess with him, right? And he just saw something in me where he was like, I'm going to push this kid. And he really, really did. And I just respected him a lot.
Hmm.
And I spent a lot of time with him. He spent extra time outside the session with me when I was going for my black belt. And he just really put a lot into me. And yeah, as I grew up, because I was training with adults when I was like 13, so they were just battering me, which, is quite a good experience and bad experience at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
You get tough pretty quickly. And I just had a lot of admiration for how he lived life and the passion he had every single day He was just the same person. He just went at it and just attacked it. And like to give you an example of how hard he worked, we would do karate. So he would have boxercise sessions before karate on Saturday, right? For a
Mm,
couple of hours. And then he would do karate for 2.5 hours. And then we'd go in the sauna steam for like an hour where we do like 10 minutes of each. You do 10 minutes steam, 10 minute sauna, little cold plunge, and repeat that. And I was pretty young at the time. This is
mm.
probably not something you should have done at that age, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like sort of pushed. And then after that, he would go on a 400-mile bike ride.
Wow.
He was just insane. Like he just had so much energy and like zest for life. So I think I learned a lot from him just on how he operated. Just like his
Yeah.
battery was like is like a Duracell bunny, you know?
Wow.
And
That's
that I think shaped me a lot growing up. But then outside of that, I was really obsessed with World's Strongest Man when I was younger,
Mhm.
and I watched it every single year since I was 9. And just the admiration for the effort and the even the guys that obviously got big bellies, right? They're
Mm,
still, you know, really strong and just the power they had. I
mm.
really got excited by that. So I just started getting into strength training and really I like that side of things. And like any sort of young aspiring teenager who wanted to build muscle, I was looking into like, men's health, muscle and fitness, that kind of thing. And obviously Arnie's a great example as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
I'm not really into bodybuilding myself, but it's more the respect of what he did, what he achieved. And
Mm,
I actually think now that I'm older, from learning about his life and watching more on him, it's who he was as a person, like the traits he had. He literally went after it like tomorrow was the last day,
mm.
you know? So his
Yeah, yeah.
passion was like second to none.
Yeah, I mean, actually, as the years have gone by, I've also got a lot more respect for him because what I saw was more of the like the film star, which
Yeah.
you kind of he's quite limited. But actually, when you look at how he stretched himself every day, to
Mm.
be that much better, and saying actually, nothing, everything is possible if you apply yourself. And that's kind of what I really love about him.
Yeah, yeah. He really believed. And he always says that every day he used to wake up and think, how can I be useful today?
Mm.
Not just for himself, but for other people. So he
Yeah,
had that mentality of like, I'm going to help people as well as myself. I'm going to serve others and make the world a better place. So he had that mentality. So I really respect him for that.
yeah, and and I also understand from the way he's raised his children as well. Even though he was, obviously very affluent now, he
Yeah.
wanted his children also to wake up and understand that nothing's given. You
Yeah.
have to work, and I think you have to because you hear too many stories of people that don't,
Yeah.
and where everything is given to them, and it's not. Every day you have to grow you in some way or other. You have to get through the challenges. If it's all given to you, then you're not growing.
Yeah. I heard a quote recently from a course that I did, which was one of the most powerful courses I've ever done on neuroscience and brain health, right? And the guy who runs the course said the biggest problem in humanity is thinking that struggle is a bad thing. Because will humans be better off as a race from doing hard things or easy things? And obviously we all
Mm,
want nice and comfortable and easy because it feels nice, right?
mm,
But it's not really how you grow. It's not really how you get the drive inside to go, right, I need to be better,
mm.
you know? I
Yeah,
love that.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, I do as well. I mean, there's times for breaks and for relaxing, but also you can have too much of that, and it's
Yeah.
also how do you move forward? So you mentioned like someone on that course, the neuroscience course. Have you done more sort of previous courses, and have there been other influences in terms of like learning books and things like that?
Yeah, I've learned quite a bit of neuroscience actually, because I'm really fascinated by psychology, the brain, and I think how that ties into my job as a coach is to understand someone.
Mm.
So I always like to understand the client and understand who I'm working with. It's not just transaction, it's about the person and how they live their life, and it's about lifestyle change, right?
Yeah.
So the more you understand why someone does what they do, you can help to influence change, because if you understand someone's beliefs and why they are a certain way, that's the only way you're going to change. If you have a belief pattern that you don't deserve something, you won't ever get it, right? Until you change your beliefs, you're not going to really make progress that you want.
Mm.
In terms of like books and things that I've read, so many to be honest. I think a big one is obviously that's come out in more recent years is Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's a really good book.
Yeah.
I've got so many on Audible that I've gone through. I can't think of any other major ones off the top of my head. In terms of people, though, I've just always had a good knack for studying great people and successful
Mm.
people. People like Denzel Washington, for example.
Yeah.
He's got some great speeches online, right? And interesting story about him. He said he went to audition for a theatre for an opera role, right? And turns out he was terrible. Didn't get the part. And then he was like, right, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying. And then the story goes on for a while. And then 30 years later, he goes back to the same theatre where he had the first audition and nails it and gets the part. But 30 years it took him. And that's Denzel Washington, like one of the greats.
Yeah.
So it's just showing you like not only to do with health, but people in any aspect of life that have that kind of perseverance will do well because they're not willing to quit when someone tells them no.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's he's an amazing person from everything that I've seen
Yeah,
and heard about him, and very humble guy as well, very
yeah,
grounded, and 30 years later, I mean that's such a difference, isn't it? Opera singing from acting. I
yeah,
would say, I mean, I guess
yeah,
there's a little bit of the performance in there, but it's
yeah.
like it's a different skill, and obviously you've had these influences, and what would you say are your key traits and attributes that you bring to clients and that they can see and saying, actually, that's the DNA of Byron.
So I'm very resilient.
Mm.
When things are hard, I will keep going. Or when things are hard with a client and they're going through tough times, I'll stay with it. I am very good at persevering.
Mm.
I'll keep going. And I will call people out when they're giving excuses and not doing what they said they were going to do. Because a lot
Mm.
of the time we sell our own lies back to ourselves of why we can't do something. I'm obviously very dedicated as a coach,
Mm.
committed to the client, committed to learning and developing myself as well as obviously clients too, so I can continue to give back and be better. But I would say ultimately it's your care that really helps, right?
Yeah.
If you really care and you really have the passion, then when people are saying they're going to do one thing, but they'll give you an excuse or a different angle, sometimes when you show that you care and you call someone out on it, you're actually showing you care even more, even though they see it as a bad thing. They see it as, oh, you're being a certain way. It's actually because you really want them to succeed.
Yeah.
That's what I believe a good coach really does, is they see between the lines and they go, look, I've seen this 100 times before. I know what this is, and it's showing that care, but you're doing it in a way where you want them to succeed. That's literally the goal of coaching, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're actually with them every step of the way, and you know their next move before they do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the accountability element, isn't it?
Yeah,
You're making them accountable, and it's like I get there's a skill in terms of how you do that. In terms of like, because people are different, aren't they? Some people need an arm around the shoulders. Other
yeah,
people need a kick up the
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
get them moving.
Yeah, I think definitely. Obviously, you have to know your audience, right? Some
Yeah.
people will need a bit more tough love. because not everyone responds unless they have that. And then
Yeah.
some people need a bit more of a like hand holding to really help them through the process, especially when they're going through a hard period in life,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, I think you learn that pretty quickly as a coach in terms of if someone responds to you well or not, and how they take on board advice. But that's why I've loved studying neuroscience so much and psychology, because you understand how people work.
Yeah.
And one of the best things you can ever do as a coach is take yourself out of it. It's not what you want or what
Yeah.
you think is best. It's what's best for the client in their journey. If they're in a certain position and you've seen that before and you know the pattern generally, or
Mm.
you understand their behaviors, you can predict what may happen if they do a certain thing, right? Then you can help to guide them down the right path.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's interesting because I know we've talked about neuroscience and saboteurs and the like, but actually it's interesting that we do get in ourselves, we get in the way of ourselves
Yeah.
very often. And I think one of the beauties of having a coach is actually to put a spotlight and some mirrors up to say, actually, this is part of what's going on. Think about that. And that almost it creates an awakening in itself
Yeah.
that people can't see because they're so deep in that they can't see what's around them.
Yeah. I think that's when you have to base off of facts and
Mm,
usually data in
yeah.
terms of what you do, because then data doesn't lie, right? You can go,
Mm,
well, this is the goal and this is what you said you're going to do, but you're doing X, Y, and Z, which is going the other direction. So that tells me
yeah.
what you want,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
indirectly, without me having a go at you. That this data tells me what you want to do.
Yeah. And which data are you basing that on?
So it depends on the client and how things work with them, or their goals. But I would
Mm,
say metrics to do with, well, if someone wants to lose weight, for example,
mm,
tracking calories is a great one, or tracking your
mm.
food in some form,
Yeah.
to understand that. I use this like an analogy of a credit card or bank statement. If you had a credit card and you went out and just kept swiping it and just kept hoping that it cleared and just kept going, right, let's spend that, let's do that, and never looked at the statement to know how much you owe, I can bet in a few months' time, your life's going to be in a bit of trouble, right? It's the same for nutrition. If the goal is to lose weight and you never track anything that you eat, how would you expect to change? Because you have no idea.
Yeah.
Same as exercise. If you never take any interest in the weight you're lifting, the speed you're running, the distance you go, the amount of push-ups you do, whatever it is you're doing, if you don't take any interest in that, how are you ever going to make progress? Because you have no idea where you're at.
Yeah.
It's like getting in the car and going, right, I'm going to Newcastle today, and you have no idea how to get there, no sat nav. How are you going to get there?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I mean, within that. There's what comes out to me. There's some understanding, some key understanding that you need to have, and there's also some discipline required,
Yeah.
because without those, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. Like discipline is one of the best skills you can ever learn. And I was very grateful to learn that young in martial arts,
Mm,
because that stuck with me for my whole life, in terms of learning to do things when you don't want to do them. Because if you learn that, then your brain after a certain age will be on autopilot. It's very hard to, obviously, you want to be learning new things and gaining new skills, but when you get to a certain age, if you have a business, married, kids, etc., you get a certain life, you tend to run pretty busy and you're
mm,
quite on autopilot in how you do things. So if you have discipline as an autopilot, because you will do things even when you don't feel like doing them, you
mm.
say, today I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and you do that, that's keeping a promise to yourself to go, I'm going to do this because I said I was going to do it. And when you do that every single day, you get wins, right? Everyone loves dopamine, right?
Yeah.
Quick win dopamine nowadays is social media, scrolling, all that stuff, right?
Mm,
But real dopamine is achieving tasks and keeping promises to yourself. if you had a to-do list, you had something you were going to do, and you tick that off, you did it. You said, right, I'm going to go for that walk or that run at 7 a.m. and you did it. I'm going to have vegetables with these meals. I'm going to have protein in my meal, for example. Yeah. When
Mm.
you say you're going to do something, do it. And the feeling you get from that is amazing because you're being yourself and you're being what you said you were going to do,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. And I've been someone that uh, I can be quite discipline at times can be fluid. And one of the things that I have learned in terms of my own journey, in terms of reducing weight, it is all those things that you talked about. It's the discipline, doing it even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
You almost have to shut your brain off and say, we're doing it. And actually, it's amazing. Like less than a minute in, you start enjoying it. You start getting into it, and actually, then you
Yeah.
start to push yourself a bit further. Saying, actually, oh, I said I was only going to do 7. Actually, I'm going to do 11, or I'm going to do 15, or I'm
Yeah.
going to do 18, and that's how
Yeah.
it kind of it's. But there's sometimes it goes back to what I'm saying. It's the saboteurs can sometimes stop you from doing what you really want to do, and actually, sometimes you just have to park them and
Yeah.
say,
Yeah. There's a
um,
great Stoic quote. I forget if it's Aristotle or Socrates, one of the two. And it says, we suffer far greater in our imagination than in reality.
yeah,
What we imagine is going to happen very rarely comes to fruition. It's more like we think about it so much that it's going to be this horrible event.
yeah,
And when you start it, by the time you're into it, it's over quicker than you think.
yeah, yeah,
But it's the
absolutely.
act of getting started that really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've kind of touched on a little bit is, those values that you personally strive for. Are there, I think we touched on a few, but I mean, are there others values that you strive for? And are there others that you have to manage?
As in myself or
Yes,
like working with
yourself.
clients.
Yeah, with yourself.
I think I've been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I've crafted it pretty well. I would say one that gets us all, and I think if you disagree with this, you're probably lying to yourself, is procrastination,
Hmm.
is one of the biggest ones, right? We've all done it at times, let's be honest. We've all had a scroll, done something when we had to do a different task. And honestly, you are lying if you disagree with that because everyone has. Um, but one of the things I like about procrastination is it's decision making, right? So people usually don't make decisions because they're afraid it's going to be the wrong one. That's the number, I'm saying it's the number one
Yeah.
reason people do that because they're afraid it'll be the wrong decision or that it will be painful or hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you have to make faster decisions, usually the first thing comes to your head, you think about, right? You do that. If you put something off for a long time, what will happen is at some point you have to make a decision anyway, whether you like it or not.
Hmm.
And what do you usually do when that happens? You make the first decision that you thought of in the first place. So you're really just wasting time and wasting your what's going to be the inevitable,
Yeah.
So you may as well do it.
Yeah, and you waste a lot of nervous energy doing that as
Yeah.
well. You think of all the time, and it's like a fuse, isn't it? It's kind of you just burn out because inside you know that actually what you should be doing, but actually you are like trying to avoid doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and do you have like are there certain I mean I call them like away from values, like for example with me, I don't like getting angry,
Okay.
and partly that's because of if I think about like my wife, if I get angry, like she really retreats. So I mean, do you have like values that you try to move away from?
I think with emotions and things like anger, for example,
Mm,
well, I was quite angry as a child. It's one of the
mm,
reasons why I had to do martial arts. My mum was like,
mm,
"You need to sort yourself out."
mhm.
So I was grateful for that. But
Yeah,
I would say you shouldn't ever block them out. You should learn to feel them,
mm,
understand why you feel them, And this is where doing practices like meditation,
Mm.
mindfulness, breath work help you understand yourself more about if something happens and it triggers you. Why did that happen? Why did I allow that to happen? Right. So some of it can come down to, depends on the scenario, right? But it could
Mm.
be that you thought someone was going to do something and they didn't do it. Your expectation was set differently to what their expectation was. So that can often happen with anger. You think X has happened, going to happen, I'll do Y, right? So Kobe Bryant, I don't know if you remember who he was,
Yep, yep,
the
yeah, yeah.
basketball player, what a
Basket.
legend.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, he said that stress is when you think X is going to happen, but Y happens. So you, he didn't say X and Y, but that's what he
yeah,
said, right?
yeah,
You think this is how the scenario is going to go, but actually it goes a different way. So it's your expectation that made that happen,
yeah,
as opposed to one thing I've realized as I've got older is the idea is in terms of thinking about what's going to happen. If you treat things as though this is what it is, as opposed to what I want it to be, you take something for how the outcome is, how it actually is. This is what happened. What can I do about it? Versus this is what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be this certain way. I want it to be my way.
yeah,
And I think if you can take a step back to think about that, then it really helps you to understand you're actually directing that energy that way.
yeah, yeah. There's it's almost like what you have on the screen of your mind. And if that doesn't, if what you're aiming for doesn't fit the pictures, then something needs to
Yeah,
happen. You either have to change, allow for that happening, take that learning, or you've got to change the picture.
yeah, I like that. That's good. Yeah,
Um,
I like that. Yeah,
um,
when you expect something and something else happens, it stresses you out, right?
yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
so do you, I mean, I don't want to labor this point, but I mean, are there sort of traits that you try to manage yourself?
As in like anger, or is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that was from a younger age because we all there are some things that some qualities that are kind of more natural, and there are others that aren't. So if I kind of relate my when I get angry, it's usually either there's frustration involved in that, or it's like I'm not quite in full balance. I'm a little bit tired, a little bit ill, and so it just means that the fuse is shorter. So the jack in the box comes out quicker, and it's
Yeah,
just like, how do you slow that down?
yeah. I think taking the time to breathe and just take a few breaths,
Mm,
and sometimes time alone or time in
mm,
your own little setting
mm.
helps with that. Um, in terms of what I struggle to manage with, I think it sometimes it's people, managing expectations of people, and that can obviously lead to a lot of stress because if you have certain standards
Yeah,
and other people don't have that standard, that's going to stress you out, right?
yeah,
Because you're thinking, well, why haven't they done that? This is how it is. This is how it should be. But that's you projecting what you want versus what they want, right? As long as I think if you're okay with having uncomfortable conversations with people, you're able to get to that point faster to know, right, this is the expectation. Can we keep this? You know, and I think that has helped me a lot to deal with people that aren't pulling their weight or aren't doing what they said they were going to do. And I would say that's one of the biggest challenges is dealing with certain people that aren't doing what they said they were going to do,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we kind of. I think you're talking like generally. I kind
Yeah.
of. It sounds like more from what you perceive from clients or work colleagues. I was trying to sort of delve into a little bit of into Byron about what might trigger you, and
I would
I
say
know.
that though,
Yeah.
even
Okay.
even in life,
Yeah.
even in life with people,
Mm.
um, you know, people that let's say simple things like holding the door open for you when they easily could have. Like,
Yeah.
sounds silly, right? It wouldn't necessarily trigger me, but it's more that it costs you nothing, or like saying thank you or saying
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
That, in my
Yeah.
opinion, costs you nothing,
Yeah.
right?
I'm 100% with you on that one. That I have to, when it comes to that, I have to calm myself a little bit down in
Yeah,
that. Yeah, because for me, it's such a natural thing, and it's like
exactly. Yeah,
a courtesy and a respect.
yeah,
And when it doesn't happen, I have to, sort of, I have to breathe and think about my reaction and how I want to
yeah,
react. So
yeah.
yeah, for sure. And so I mean, just we talked about sort of values. I mean, do you have a like a big why? I mean, why is it that you do what you do? And do you have that?
Why I do what I do. Yeah, because one of the big things for me was actually I love my parents, but I don't want to be like them. In my opinion, they lived a very unhealthy life, and I didn't like that growing up, and I wanted
Mm,
to make different choices. So I wanted to do everything I could to be as healthy as possible, feel great, live life how I want to live it, not necessarily how your parents teach you what is right and wrong, etc. I was always a bit of a rebel, you could say, when I was a kid.
mm,
I like to do things not necessarily my own way, but find a different path because I didn't really fit in certain areas growing up, you know. So I
yeah,
just found my own way, and I thought, you know, life can be what you want it to be, rather than what you're told it is.
yeah,
So my why, you could say, to sum up the point, is because I want to help others to be the best version of themselves they can, and not what society wants or what their parents want, or do you know what I mean? It's what they want,
yeah, yeah.
you know?
Actually, you've touched on something there, which I think as a um, like as a young person, I mean, you've called it rebel. You either see and you make a choice, actually, those traits I don't want to repeat,
Yeah.
and you want to do it new, but there will be others that you do repeat. And it's been really clear with yourself. And I think children are very savvy at picking up quite early on those traits and things that they do like and they run with. And if you don't think they're the right ones, you will not repeat them. You will do things differently.
Yeah. And that's the hard thing though, once you've learned habits a certain way
Yeah,
from an age with parents, it's very hard to reverse if it's ingrained, unless you do a lot of training and self-development work to
yeah,
think about it and be aware of it, right? Because obviously as you grow up, you're not going to be as aware of your habits because you get so busy with life.
yeah,
So it's just having the self-awareness to go, yeah, I don't like that. And it depends on your childhood. Some people are
yeah,
more stressed than others. Some people have less of their time. Like if you have five brothers and three sisters, for example,
yeah,
it's going to be a pretty chaotic household.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? So it depends how much time you have to yourself to reflect, I guess.
Yeah, and also other influences, and
Yeah.
I guess people that can also like nurture you, and you can learn from, and also learn not to do things from. So, kind of in our conversation, and I think I think I picked this up previously as well. I mean, you're not the atypical fitness trainer, are you? In terms of bringing that neuroscience and that empathy in, it is a little bit different. Is that part of how you do things with clients?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's understanding the client. And I think if you take that time and that care, and that's what
Mm,
sets me apart, is because if you're going to take the time and the care to understand the client, you know how to best serve them, and you know how to help them get out of their own way, make the progress they want to make. And you figure out what's the obstacle, the barrier that's currently in their way that's stopping them, you know? Because obviously they're with AI now in this kind of age, there's so many cookie cutter programs and do this, and this, and it's all the same. Because ultimately, in terms of health, performance, nutrition, building muscle, losing body fat, you can go on ChatGPT. You can you can say, write me a diet plan, write me a training program, right? But that might take you to a certain point, but there's no shortage of information,
Yeah.
only a shortage or a lack of implementation. You can get all the programs in the world, but if you don't do them, what's the point?
Yeah.
It's the person that's going to call you out, that's going to review and look through what you're doing and see what's working, what's not working, what you can improve. But also, I think someone to help you see your wins. So with clients, I actually had a call with a client just before this, and I asked him what his biggest win of the week was, and he was like, he couldn't think. And I was
Mm,
like, and he's a very successful guy, made a lot of money, done
mm.
really well, and he's in great shape now. Um, and he couldn't think of his win of the week, and I was like, that's the problem, because you can't think of something you did well this week. You're looking at everything that was bad. You're not
Mm.
seeing what you're already doing that's working, what you're grateful for, what you're doing well at.
Yeah. Sounds like from what you've just described there, that could be a little bit of the critic in there. It's like and it may be peeling it back, saying, actually, what are those small wins? Those
Yeah,
little small,
yeah,
finding out what those small wins are. Um,
yeah, exactly.
mm. And so is the coaching that you do, is that primarily fitness coaching, or do you encompass some other areas? Because you've touched on about breath work, touched on meditation.
Yeah.
Do you incorporate these other elements as well?
Yeah, so it's health and performance coaching. It's not just about fitness. It's not just
Yeah.
about losing weight, gaining muscle. Those are all key parts of it. But a lot of the time, there's other factors that are limiting that. So
Mm,
I have a concept called the six pillars of health, the framework that I use,
mm,
and it's revolved around exercise/movement is the first pillar, because if you aren't doing enough general movement or exercise, that's what's going to be a big barrier of you getting to your goals, right? Nutrition and hydration is the next pillar,
mm.
which is tied into one, because hydration is just as important as nutrition.
Yeah.
Because if you aren't properly hydrated, you can have a massive decline in performance. There we go. There's a good plug. So it's really important to have
Mm,
proper hydration as well as enough nutrients in the body. They're two things that are pretty well known for,
yeah.
losing weight, building muscle, whatever your goal is, right? And then you've got stress management is one of the most overlooked things. And the reason why it's called management is because you can't eliminate stress. That everything you do is a stressor.
Yeah.
Whether that's, some people perceive talking to someone as a stressor, because I'm an introvert by nature. So despite I'm sort of friendly talking here, right? I'm not someone who naturally wants to talk to everyone.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? For me, it's more like my own time. I'm kind of like that kind of person. So it's managing what you perceive as stress and understanding how to deal with that. Because stress could be arguing with your spouse, it could be a big deadline at work, it could
yeah.
be feeling unhappy about being overweight, it could be wanting to feel stronger, it could be joint pain, all those kind of things, right? If you can't manage stress and you don't know how to deal with it, that's going to eat away at you, and that's going to kill your progress straight away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the one of the other pillars. You've also got sleep, which is again big subjects. Can spend a lot of time talking about that, but most people just don't sleep enough or deep enough. Quality matters the most. If you get good quality sleep, that will change your life. That's the best recovery hack you can ask for.
Yeah.
So having someone that will go through that with you, help you analyze it and understand it properly, it's not just as simple as you lay down, you get up. There's loads of nuances within that can help you, right?
Yeah.
Another one that's really overlooked is mindset and how you see things,
Yeah.
how you see the world, how you see problems, all those things, which could be from your work. It could be logistically figuring out how to get 4 sessions of exercise in, for example. It could be figuring out how to weigh your food, all those factors. It's understanding the way you think about things is a difference between success and failure. And even if you fail, when you think, right, how can I improve? How can I get better? Your mindset is keeping you going.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that dialed in, you're going to lose straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the final pillar, which people, again, don't often know about, is circadian rhythm, which for those that don't know what that is, it's basically you wake up when the sun comes up, you go down, you go to sleep when the sun goes down. So your body clock is wired around the sun. Some people are what we call night owls, where they'll go to bed later because their
Yeah.
body clock's a little bit further forward, right? But it's understanding your body clock, understanding how to optimize your energy. So if you align your circadian rhythm, you will get more natural energy, way more energy than you thought you could have had,
Yeah.
you know, and you will go to sleep on time and feel like you need to sleep rather than be like, oh, I get sleep. I'm just too wired, you know.
Yeah.
You got to figure out your own biology. And that's what I help people to do. So
Yeah.
understand how to optimize their energy. Because if you're that kind of person that wakes up, you need 4 coffees to get out of bed and you're knackered at 12 o'clock, you don't know how to get through the day. This is what this is going to help you with.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're in that cycle of relying on coffee and caffeine, it's a repeating cycle that just
Yeah.
gets you wear yourself out, because it's really important what you're talking about in terms of sleep hygiene, understanding that. And if you get that right, your vitality and energy is so different when you sleep well to when you
Yeah.
don't. It's huge.
Yeah.
So
So
to get help with that, I mean, people talk about getting your 7 or 8 hours, but I've not met many people that kind of go into it in detail and as a science.
and that's the thing, like there's so much to it. Like people see like this much of it. They see, oh, I'll get 7, 8 hours. Cool, yeah, that's the thing. But
Mm,
how do you get that? How do you measure quality? How do you set yourself up to sleep? How's your sleep environment?
yeah,
All those factors make a big difference. And that's what I help people to understand. It's not just a fitness program.
yeah,
It's understanding how to manage your life better so you can feel the best you ever did and
yeah,
get the results. And that helps you to win every day, to lose body fat, to build muscle, to get stronger, get more mobile, reduce joint pain, which everyone has that problem at some point,
yeah, yeah.
you know, and Jimmy Carr said something really good in a quote. I think it was an Instagram video that I saw. He said, "You will never be as young as you are today. And in 25 years' time, I can guarantee you'll give me everything you own. Everything you own. Doesn't matter whether you got art, watches, gold, millions, to feel as good as you do today. Everything.
Mm.
So your time and how you feel is everything."
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. 18 months ago, I had a hip operation. The 2 years before that was hell. It was hell.
Oh, yeah, that's
And,
tough.
and so so for me, part of my journey, what I'm doing today is, and building and trying to build every day is realizing never ever want to get into that stage
Yeah.
again, state again. And that is like a big driver for me. So I mean, in terms of what would you like your legacy to be? If you think about, actually, if you look back on your body of work, and if what would you like people to take away?
Good question. It's a big question. Um, is to empower people to take control of their own health. It's a
Hmm,
concept I call health freedom. You don't need doctors to go and see every week. You understand how to manage your life. Imagine that. You don't have to ever go see a doctor.
hmm,
I'm not saying you never would if you've got an infection or stuff like that. It's a bit different.
hmm.
Or get your leg cut off, go to hospital by all means. But generally speaking, if you understand how to manage your health and your life, you will be in control of your life. So health freedom is what everyone should strive for. Financial freedom is something we're all looking for, right? Everyone's
Mhm.
pursuing that, right? That's a big buzzword,
Hmm.
or phrase,
Yeah.
financial freedom. But what about health freedom?
Yeah, I'm having just talked about what I was saying about the hip, and you realize your health is like so important in terms
Yeah.
of your life. And if I just think back to what you just said about Jimmy Carr as well, that whatever you think of the guy in other aspects, in terms that's the truth.
Yeah.
Without your health, it's life is so much more difficult. And when I think about myself and the journey that I was on, you go and see the doctor, and all of a sudden you're on 6, 7 pills for different things, and thinking that's not, they're all things that I could avoid by
Yeah.
getting fitter, leaner, yeah. So it's really important. So I think your message is not quite what I was expecting either. I think
Okay.
it's a lot more holistic
Yeah.
uh, than and it's that there's a lot of good stuff in there.
It
So
goes deeper than you think. Yeah, there's a
mm,
lot of stuff inside that people haven't dealt with and haven't don't understand about themselves that
yeah,
this is what's holding them back. The people that make progress really fast are the ones who tend to either already have that sorted or
yeah,
they're good at letting things go. There's all that kind of thing where if you hold on to things, that eats away at you and stops you progressing, right?
yeah,
But I've done a lot of deep work on myself, a lot of
yeah,
self-development courses, you can probably tell.
yeah,
Um, and that's just helped me to accelerate my coaching over the years because I really understand people better and I understand when you're just lying to yourself and you need to be called out. You need to like let the real stuff out and stop using this excuse. You go around in circles. You're not really owning up to it. You're just, like I said, you're lying to yourself.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's great. Well, Byron, it's been like an amazing interview. There's your what we've talked about. I wasn't quite expecting in the same level of depth. I mean, when it came to the neuroscience, I know that we've kind of talked about positive intelligence,
Yeah.
and I know you're on that journey, but you've actually done a lot more work in that area
Yeah.
than I was anticipating.
Yeah. I've just always believed that there's the old saying, right? Every day's a school day.
Yeah,
But Jim Rohn actually said this. He said, work harder on yourself than you do at your job. You can be better in life and progress more, get paid more, whatever you want to do. If you work harder on yourself as a person, you will succeed in every area because that's what is left when all this is gone. You as a person is all that's left.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't take anything with you. You don't
Exactly.
take anything with
Yeah.
you. Yeah, great stuff. Well, Byron, thank you very much. It's been a really revealing and
Yeah.
interesting conversation, and so thank you.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate your time.